What is up, guys? This is your boy Zane Quibbler back here with the vlogs. So today I'm going to be talking about how to interact with people efficiently and effectively. So let's get started. Um, the way I like to interact with people is I have usually like two approaches. So the first one is where I walk to them and I'm like, hey, I'm Zane. Um, I'm a 19-year-old at the exchange or, at my youth group or whatever. I'm 19. Sometimes I don't even say that. I'm just like, hey, I'm Zane. I'll tell a funny dad joke. Like, I don't know, ask me how did I get a haircut? They're like, did you get a haircut? I was like, no, I got them all cut. Ha ha. And I'll slap my knee so hard, it's just solid. But I can't do that because there's a desk in the way. But I'll say a funny joke, and then I actually have like a photo album of like embarrassing pictures of me, like some 10th grade. I had a shorter beard and I just shaved right here. Quality stuff. But I'm gonna kind of break down like what all that is and why I do what I do. Oh, and also I'll be like, hey, I'm Zane Quibdo. I love Jesus and Crocs, and I was homeschooled, so. But one thing that I like to do is um, I like to be very intentional with what I do, and I like to have stuff with like efficiency. Like I want to be able to step on the right foot. I want to introduce myself correctly to where people know that they can be open and that they're loved. And this is geared towards like 15, 14 to 20-year olds, like, some youth, I could even do this with older people just because I think it's fun to see their reaction. So, yeah, so I like to say, hey, I'm Zane Quibdo. It lets them know who I am. That barrier's kind of breaking of like, oh, who's this stranger? I'm Zane Quibido. Like, hey, Georgie, I'm the weird dude that wants to kill you. So, and your name's Georgie, so we're okay. That's not like, that's a lot lower stress than that. But I'm saying, hey, I'm Zane Quibido. I'm letting you know my name right off the bat, and then I'll say I love Jesus and Crocs, or I'll say something of that matter, and or I'll say, like, hey, I'm Zane Quibido. I'm the coolest person you'll ever meet. Check out my Crocs. What I do is I establish my name. I tell a joke so they kind of laugh, and then I also tell them like an embarrassing thing about myself. That way, it just kind of breaks down all barriers um, to the most part. That way, I'm able to say like, "What's your name?" And a big tip that I'll give people like when they're introducing themselves is like, as kids we used to say, what's your favorite color, how old are you, what's your favorite food. Like literally that stuff works to like the youth. Like they actually respond to it well. Now of course, when I say they respond to it well, they're like very awkward and stiff just because the youth think they have this thing called a reputation, and they think like, oh, they're gonna like knock my school, like my cool status down. But like in reality, like after high school, there is no such thing as a reputation. Like the only reputation you have is if you're trustworthy, a hard worker, if you're honest, or like if you're lazy or something like that. Like that is your reputation. Not if you're cool, not if you know, vaped on a jewel pod, tech deck and stuff. It's like no one cares. Like we just want to see if you're honest, like if you're faithful, if you're there. Like that's what we're here for. And so you open up with a couple jokes. You open up with some, just opening up yourself and just being vulnerable. Like I split my pants 9 times in high school. I'll tell that like like it's nothing, because it is. Because in 20 years I may not ever see him again. In 20 years they're gonna forget, or they may remember, and they'll have something like funny about me, like which is positive. So I left at least a positive impact because it was funny at least. So introduce yourself, and also like I like to do a inside joke or like a secret handshake within like the first minute to 3 minutes of meeting them. I like to compliment them. It's like, bro, I love your shoes. Even if like they may not be the coolest shoes, like they may be some like dad shoes. I'm like, bro, those dad shoes, like you were rocking it right now. Or they may have some sort of like, I know a couple of characters of like what Dragon Ball Z looks like, so it's like, bro, that's a dope shirt. And they're like, yeah, like you watch Dragon Ball Z? It's like, no, but actually, like, you can tell me about it though. Like I know a little bit, but you can like tell me like what's your favorite character? Like what do you like about it? And already I just created a common ground, even though I have no interest in it and I have nothing to input into it. Like I showed, hey, I care about that. Like, let's talk about it. And one thing that I've learned is if you really want to grow a relationship with someone, if you want someone to know that they're loved, like you're going to be talking about some stuff you do not care about whatsoever. So, like, for instance, I do not care about cars, I do not care about sports, and I've never watched like Dragon Ball Z or really much anime. I've only watched Veggie Tales, really, like Veggie Tales and maybe some boxing movies and like some war movies. Other than that, that's about it. But what I'll do is it's like, oh, I don't know about that, but can you tell me about it? Like, can you tell me, like what's the coolest thing about it? And what happens is you're building what they love and what they're passionate about. And then that way they're able, because here's the thing is you may not care about cars whatsoever, but with the person that you're pouring into, with the person that you're like, hey, tell me about the coolest thing, what will happen is you may be sparking a fire that will make them to be the lead mechanic of a company, or they may actually find their job as a mechanic or as um, a fashion designer or an animator. Like, you just don't know. So like, encourage them with what they believe in, because you're not always going to be interested in the subject or the topic, but you're interested in the person and their well-being, and like you're interested in knowing who they are and building them up. That way it opens, like it almost forces them to open up about it. And whenever someone's passionate about something, whether introvert or extrovert or ambivert or any kind of personality, what will happen is they will open up and they will not stop talking about it, because what you do is you find an interest and then you let them talk. Most of the time when you're getting to know someone, you're getting to know them. You're not letting yourself know, you're knowing who they are. And for me, like sometimes I'm bad with names. It's just a simple tip. I'm bad with names. I'll be up front with this, like, wait, hold on, I'm bad at remembering names. So let me just say, and then I say the name like 3, 4 times, stare at them, squint my eyes, and all that jazz, kind of make it funny. But like, I'm really trying to remember the names. I write it down. I write a little description about them, like in my phone. That way, like, before I go somewhere where I know they'll be, I'll look at my phone real quick, and then I'm able to like say the names, like, oh hey, and like they're like, wow, you remembered my name. And it's like, yeah, I just do the best I can, but like really, like I'm just being very intentional with what I do. Um, so yeah, but like when you tell an embarrassing story, when you tell a joke, like it opens up a lot of walls, like which is like we just have natural walls and defense mechanisms where it's just like, oh hey stranger, I shouldn't tell them about like weird stuff, like I should at least keep my dignity. But if I come up to you and I have some embarrassing stuff to tell, you're like, oh, this dude doesn't care, and then they're just able to at least hold a conversation with you. um, Also, find out what works best for you. Like, because I was never cool. I was homeschooled. I mean, I was in high school, and like, I did play football and theater and all that. So like, I have a bunch of like, I'm able to reach a lot of places, but at the same time, like, I was never one of the like, oh, laid back. If I lean back further, then I'm cooler. I was never that person, so I was always just like not caring. I was just like, I am who God made me to be, and I'm confident in that. You can't change anything about me, you know. So that's how I functioned. I was very confident, and I was definitely more confident in like my embarrassing stuff. That way, God can get more of the glory, because it's like, wow, I am stupid without him. So that's what I do. I open up with a joke, open up with an embarrassing story, but also like find ways to compliment that person. So like one of the safest things you can do is, I like your hair, shoes, or like watch some sort of accessory like a necklace, earrings. If you kind of know them a little bit better, or if you're very approachable, if you have an aroma of just like, hey, I'm approachable, I'm a very nice guy, then like if a girl is taking time to put on makeup, tell them they did a great job with their makeup. Like, hey, you did a great job with your makeup. Because you know what I've learned is like, guys may not like, be open. It's just like, wow, I really wanted that compliment. Like, wow, you really do like my shoes or my shirt or something like that. Like, girls will soak that stuff up. So, not saying like, oh, this is how to get your boo thing. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, girls are more receptive to words of affirmation than guys, I think. Or maybe just girls are just more open about it. But like, tell them because like you genuinely care about them and like you want them to grow closer to Christ and you want to be a better reflection of Christ. So tell them that. And so like as I said, when you approach them, say your name, a joke, maybe something embarrassing, find a common ground really quick, and then like like a secret handshake or an inside joke or even that common ground can be that. What you do is like so I'll see you later, and you don't see him for a bit, but there'll be that so like this is kind of like Wednesdays or Sundays for me, like at the youth group, or let's say I go to a store like Tropical Smoothie. I knew like every person there just because I was intentional. I was like, hey, oh, what's your name? Made a funny joke. Boom, started to get to know them. So now I'm like really good friends with the people who work at Tropical Smoothie. So like now I have someone to talk to, at least, and like I see that they're people. So what you do is like when you'll see them again, but you're already in a conversation, but you want them to come up to you, like to again show that like you're reestablishing like a relationship, like, hey, I want you a part of me. So we're gonna call this man Billy, okay? So he's one of my friends. Some people will do this where they're like face to face, or like they'll have a group where it's just like very closed off, like you have another face like right here. What happens is like me as a person like that you met earlier, I don't feel welcome to come in that circle, or like it may seem like too serious or something that I can't be a part of or that I can't listen in. So what you do is like, so this is just practically with two people, instead of facing each other directly unless you're having a serious conversation, what you do is you just slightly open up the shoulders, and then you just kind of turn with them slightly, and then that way, like, I'm welcoming anyone to come in. Like, it's not a closed off thing. It's just more open, where it's like, oh hey, like anyone can join in, and that way they can use their common ground. They can use their inside joke to come in. Like, oh hey, I'm like, bro, like I even have like a cool nickname for him or something like that. Like just something that can stick with them, that's personal to them and unique to them. Very practical stuff. And also what I do is like one of my goals for the past 2 months is like every time I step into a room, I'm complimenting someone, I'm encouraging someone. If I know you, like if I've known you for a while, I'm gonna compliment like your personality, or like if I see something that, like if you got new shoes, I'm complimenting you about it. It's like, bro, I love your shoes. If it looks jank, you know what? I may laugh at it and I may not say anything. I'll go to something that I can encourage and I can build up. So what I also do is like whenever I go to a restaurant or a store or something like that, I see a janitor or I just see a worker, I will literally walk up to them. Hi, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you and you are not looked over. Like, there are people who see you and you're not ignored. And I want you to know that, like, we love you. You're doing a great job. And we so appreciate you. And usually I'll throw in, and man, I just want to let you know Jesus loves you so much. And you know what, man, that really changes their day, and like that really changes their mood, and it just makes everything so much better. And yeah, and even like if you go to like a restaurant or whatever and you keep complimenting, like let's say it's at like a buffet like Subway or a Chinese buffet or a restaurant, when you compliment the waitress or the server, like their joy goes from like either idle to happy or like sad to joyful 98% of the time. I mean, I'm just through that statistic, but just because I've like so never seen it not happen. And this is just like a byproduct, I think, of it, like a slight byproduct where you shouldn't expect it, but it does happen a lot. Where if you go to like a buffet or something like that and you're complimenting, oh, I love your hair, like it's just so awesome. It's like, hey, like, bro, your tattoos, like, what was your first one? Like, what do they mean? When did you get them? Something like that. Bro, dope earrings or something to that matter. Like, oh, I love just how like neat you are. Like, you just look like a very neat person. And I love that about you. Um, Even just those little things and just speaking life into someone, they tend to forget how much food they put in your plate and put a little bit more in there. So that's just a little thing that happens. It's not the end goal. The end goal is to speak life and to show like what Christ likeness looks like, to step against the grain, to go the extra mile. And this is very practical stuff on how to meet people and how to talk to people. Again, I'm a huge introvert, and like these things I found have come to be very helpful is to introduce your name, compliment them, telling a joke, an embarrassing thing, and then really start to get to know them. Like, because it breaks down everything efficiently. You can do it within like 20 seconds, like straight up. You can do it in like 20 seconds. You say, hi, I'm so and so. I just want to let you know, like, either you're appreciated or I love your hair, hat, clothes, shoes. You know, and then like you could say, hey, I play football, I love sports, what do you love? Or even just say, hey, last week I just tripped over a curb, like, what are you interested in? Like, straight up, you can be so blunt with it and it's hilarious. You'd be like, hi, I'm Zane, what are you interested in? Like, what's your name and what are you interested in? Like, how old are you? What favorite color? What food do you like? Seriously, kids, like, see what questions kids ask and then ask youth that, because they're not too far from it to be like, but like some people just really like to share what their favorite color is. Like, do they like cartoons or do they like animation? Like, do they like DreamWorks or do they like Looney Tunes? Like, do they like reading? Do they like movies? Do they like music? What kind of music? Like, straight up, you can ask these questions and it just creates a relationship. And the future videos that I'm going to be posting about is going to be like practical ways that you can lead in your school or just within your home, how to biblically like answer some stuff. This is just a practical tip that I've learned over the years, and I just want to give it to y'all because it's sometimes life is a struggle. So I want to leave y'all with that. I love y'all. Be encouraged today. Read some scripture. Um, just read scripture, like, and you'll be fine. New Testament stuff is amazing. First Corinthians, Colossians, Titus. That's like with some confrontation. That's some good stuff. Just like qualities of a leader and like qualifications of a leader. Great stuff. Ephesians, First Thessalonians, some good stuff. But like New Testament's just great, and I love it. And so I'll just be closing out. If y'all have any questions, if y'all want me to make videos on something that interests you, go for it. Tell me so I can do it. And if this video is really awkward or like you wish it was edited, tell me. Put it down in the comments, because I feel like I'm just making conversation in a video. Like, I'm making recorded conversation. So if you want it edited, let me know. This is just to get it out there. Love y'all. Like and subscribe. Check the like button. Smash the comments. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. Turn the notifications on in this corner. And blah, 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 blah.